Joining us today is Derrell Peel, OSU Extension Livestock Marketing Specialist. Derrell, we're into March now, so have all the wheat cattle moved off wheat pasture, or what does that situation look like?
I think the bulk of the cattle have moved off of wheat pasture. Of course, it's been kind of a strange year, right? And so the cattle actually, it seemed to move early. The volumes at Oklahoma auctions have been down a little bit the last couple of weeks. I think those cattle, many of them had already moved at this point.
So are there graze out wheat pasture cattle?
Well, there will be some. You know, some folks plant wheat with no intention of ever doing anything but grazing out. Of course, they're still hoping for rain, right? So the drought situation, the wheat pasture doesn't look very good, but you do still see a few sets of cattle out. Obviously, with recent events, we've had tremendous changes in the wheat market, so that may have some folks thinking a little bit about what they want to do if they have any possibility of getting any wheat.
So obviously markets have been affected by the situation in the war in Ukraine right now. How would you assess that situation for cattle markets at this time?
Well, obviously, you know, the big factor right now is uncertainty, right? We just don't know what's going to happen. Markets don't like uncertainty. They react very dramatically to uncertainty. So we've seen grain markets go limit up to record levels. We've seen cattle markets go down in response to this. And some of that is just the uncertainty. But there's, you know, we do know that wheat exports, or grain exports really, out of the Black Sea area have been disrupted. So that's an immediate real impact in the market. That means our feed costs are going up from a cattle producer standpoint. And then obviously we've got higher energy prices. Russia and the Ukraine are substantial exporters of fertilizer. And so all of those things are adding to input costs that are going to affect cattle producers. Now, in terms of actual beef markets directly globally, Russia imports a little bit of beef. They're not a major importer. We haven't exported any beef to Russia in about a decade, and we don't actually, for a number of years, we have not exported any pork or poultry either. So in terms of the direct impacts on meat trade, not too much of an impact immediately, but certainly these other factors are going to continue to weigh on the market.
What are the implications for beef being consumed?
You know, that's one of the questions right now. Obviously, beef prices have gone up pretty dramatically in recent months anyway. We had questions about whether or not there was a limit to that. At what point will the consumer reaction sort of put a limit to beef demand? There's a lot of general inflationary pressure now, and this adds to that. So, you know, when you look at gas prices now going to historically high levels, that's a direct impact on consumers, and beef is pretty sensitive to you know, those kinds of things. So we're watching it close. You know, it's too early to tell exactly, but certainly I would anticipate that we will see some impacts on consumers. Consumers themselves are going to continue to face high prices, whether it's beef or really food in general, as a result of this.
Well, we appreciate that, Derrell, and we'll continue to keep an eye on the markets.
You bet.